Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Just sharing some thoughts as we navigate through a world of postmodernism, narcissism, and psychopathy behavior at every turn. Something that has been on my mind quite a bit, and I'd like to just do a really quick shout out to this. So if you've seen the title of this video, it is called The Feedback Loop. And for a lot of people now, we don't actually get a feedback loop. And I'm going to talk about why the feedback loop is so incredibly important. Living in the world that we're in now, it's basically censorship on steroids. We are heading into a very, very, very dark time in society and in the world. The collapse of reality is now happening. As I mentioned, postmodernism, we've all got on social media, and now the lines of everything are completely blurred. So reality and fantasy can really be anything. And as I have mentioned before in previous videos, it is the epoch of Aquarius, but it is also heading into a period of time where we're seeing a distortion of people being able to identify. We see an attack on identity, which is very, very confusing. We see an attack on facts, which is also very, very confusing. And living in a world when we do this, it's very, very, very dangerous, because if we can't define something, then what is it? And so when lines get blurred, lines get crossed. And I have made a video on that, pertaining to that more specifically. But today I wanted to share this with you. The feedback loop. Think of like the infinity symbol. Think of the Ouroboros. Okay, if you know the tarot, you'll know in the occult we have the symbol, the infinity symbol. Energy goes where energy flows, and it all comes back around in a circle. Okay? So everything that we do in life has cause and effect. It has consequences, both positively and negatively, on each other. And for some people living in this world, that doesn't make sense now. We've got people that are in this world, living in this world, that through their own stupidity or lack of ignorance or lack of reality and living in ignorance, they are not privy, or they don't have any feedback loop anymore. So I'm going to explain this to you in a really simple way that hopefully, I know most of you will be able to understand this, is that a feedback loop is we get information given back to us. So it's like our control center for our receptors, all go around in a circle. When you're at work, when you're doing a task, you'll often have someone saying, hey, this is the task that you did it right, or you did it wrong, or we need to improve it this way, or we need to do it this way. So we're constantly having to check ourselves, and we need that feedback loop to be completed from other people. Okay? That's why I'm making this video. I have met some truly, truly monstrous people in my life. And I've just come out of a really dark time trying to get away from someone that is in this state of having no feedback loop. So if you're around someone at work or in your family, and they will not listen to you, they don't want to know about what their impact on you is. They don't care. This is associated with the Machiavellian traits and narcissism, but it's also very, very dangerous, because when no one checks in with you, you're floating out into space like a balloon. There is nothing tethering you down. And so this behavior becomes more and more unchecked, because no one's checking in with you to hold you accountable. And that's what it really comes down to, accountability. One of the things that I've learned through life is that Humans are capable of anything when no one holds them accountable. And if they're wearing this playful kind of facade, like everything's is fun, everything's under play, then we can start to blur what we're doing with people and how we're impacting other people, i.e., using them as play. It's another form of getting off the hook. But the feedback loop is very, very critical because we are a reflection of society, as a society is a reflection of us. The day shapes us, but we shape the day. So our behaviors and how we're all becoming modernized through technology, how we're relating to each other is changing. But the feedback loop that we're getting isn't being completed. And this is very, very bad because we need to know how we're impacting others. We need to be open enough to listen to someone sitting down and saying, hey, you're being out of line. Hey, that was really nasty. Hey, have you thought about it doing it this way? If we don't have a level of honesty where we're actually willing to listen to our own behavior and have that feedback loop completed, we go on unchecked and that behavior becomes more and more and more reinforced, creating more trauma on other people, more problems. And it is said that, a bully in essence is someone that is clearly, obviously insecure, but is also unchecked. There's no one checking in. And as a result, those neural pathways, those patterns, because the behavior that humans have is pattern-based. That's why what I'm trying to say here is that it's all pattern-based. So if you meet a narcissist and they are truly, well and truly narcissistic, that's their personality. That's who they are. All right? So we know narcissists are not interested in a feedback loop because they don't care what you have to say. They're going to override everything that you have to say. So we know that. The feedback loop is not completed. The behavior becomes more aggressive, more intense, and no one is holding them accountable. How many times have we had managers that we just wish we could sit down and just have a really gentle, kind, civil conversation? But if they're not willing or open to that feedback, well, then it's all a complete waste of time and you're in big trouble. So I hope this makes sense. So as the world shapes us, we shape it. As technology shapes us, it's shaping how we interact with each other. And that's really where we're headed now. So if there is no one checking in with each other, then we're all just these kind of fragmented fractions of each other. And that weakens a society. It breaks down reality and it breaks down accountability. When there's no accountability, then I can just kind of do whatever I want to anyone and no one's going to stop me. And if they do, I'll just twist the narrative and I'm the victim. Because as I have done videos before previously with narcissists, when you call these individuals out or when you call out some people, they flip the switch onto you, then tell you're the narcissist. Or they make your reaction to what they've done to you the focus, to shift the blame off what they've done. So what I'm saying is there's a really big key in understanding that feedback loop, and it needs to be reinforced from childhood. It really does. In psychology, we call this the downpouring, and it's also basically very important for men to have the feedback loop. They just need to know the feedback loop. Okay, so if there's no father figure or if there's no authority figure pertaining to some level of accountability, then they just go on with this kind of, their central system is completely blurred. So there's no punishment for bad behavior. There's no consequence. And being in the spiritual field and being an occultist and being into this level of psychology, we need to understand that every single thing that humans do is psychological. anything. Okay. So I'd rather see more emphasis on psychology, because that's the thing behind the things that make things, than just the physical world. Okay. If you're in this world and you can't understand that there are forces behind physical things, and that there's something beyond the physical world, and you're just living purely in what we call Maya, then you're up shit creek without a paddle. Okay, that's fucked. That's why at my age now, I'm 38, if I meet someone and there's no level of self-accountability, there's no level of spirituality, there's no level of understanding behind anything other than themselves, well then there's no place for them in my life. I'd get away from these people as quickly as possible, because it is said that when man doesn't have a God, man makes themselves the God. They make themselves the center. Okay, so all of the energy that they can get is always directed back to themselves. It's an input thing coming all in. It's not an output thing that's going back out into a circle. And so energy needs to flow. Energy needs a circle. When the circle isn't complete, it's got nowhere to go, and it's going to be all sucked up with someone. So we need people, and I have trusted friends that I have around me, very few of them, but I have a few of them that are very good with me in telling me, hey, have you thought of it this way? Hey, let's check out what's behind what you just said. Hey, think about how this impacts other people. This level of like positive and negative feedback, you must be open to it. Otherwise, if you're not, you won't grow. You're going to be a pain in the ass for people to deal with. They're not going to want to deal with you. And your behavior goes completely unchecked. All right. So living in a censorship society, we've got people that are afraid to say how they truly feel, because it could annoy someone or it could offend someone. This is very, very dangerous. Okay. Tolerance, let's put it this way. I'm going to find something that I read the other day which really deeply affected me, and I'm going to see if I can just locate that now. And it's about tolerance, and really understanding that when we allow people, or unlimited tolerance must be led always. If we extend unlimited tolerance, even those who are intolerant, if not, we're prepared to defend a tolerant society against the onslaught of the ignorant, then the tolerant will be destroyed, and tolerance with them. So what that is really communicating is, if we have this kind of no checking in and let everyone in mindset, where we're just completely intolerant of, if we're tolerant of intolerant people, so we're just tolerating people that are intolerant, then we destroy tolerance altogether. Same with any level of censorship. If we live in a society that punishes you for saying the sky is blue, kind of like a callback to The Emperor's Clothes, just stating simple biological facts, like a biological woman is a woman, that's now considered a hate speech. But if you say that, you could be shamed. And I understand people want to fit in, they want to feel accepted. So they're prepared to distort reality and shift the narrative so that they can sustain a connection in a group society, while handing over their individualism and truth speaking to something that is clearly false, just so they can fit in. And if you're out there listening to me, this is fucked. This is fucked. My whole life, it's been me kind of a fish swimming in my own direction, trying to be valiant, trying to be truthful, so very truthful with myself and with others. And then there's this other school of fish that are swimming in the opposite direction, that are looking at me like I'm crazy, when all I'm clearly doing is stating the obvious. And deep down, they fucking know it. And you know it too. All right, so we need a feedback loop. We must have and be open to feedback. That's how we grow. If I just was, for example, if I was a student in a class and my teacher just told me that you're fabulous, you're wonderful, you're amazing, everything you do is wonderful, you can't do, like everything you do is an A+, how the fuck am I going to grow? It is the undone of something that makes something done. It is the B pluses and the C pluses that push us further to the A+. Okay? This ideology that we're all special and we all just get a medal for showing up just because we're here, that's insane. Life is not a magical garden where things just happen. You have to put in effort and you have to be aware of your behavior and how that impacts other people. It's not all about you. All right. So I don't know. I try and explain these videos really straightforwardly as much as I can. But we need to be aware that energy or how we impact other people needs to come back to us. If I've done something wrong to offend someone truly or upset someone truly that was in my intention, I would have done it for real. That's why I say if I want to hurt you, you'll fucking know about it. But it doesn't serve me any real value to do so. Just because we can doesn't mean we should. But what I am saying here is feedback loop. We've got to have it. I know I've said this enough in the video. I don't know what else more to say. I mean, it's so crazy to think that we've got people just walking as free agents around, more fragmented, more lonely, because there's no feedback loop. There's no circular link that comes back to people. If we reduce each other to a doll or a toy or a sex object, we're not really getting a loop that allows us to really be seen, heard, valued, and value each other either. It doesn't work like that. So I need to know where my shortcomings are so I can work on them. And we all have work to do. Remember, if you meet someone and they come across as perfect and they have this perfect house and perfect family and perfect job and everything's fine and they don't have to do any work and they actively promote that level of thinking, get away from them because they're the people that need to do the most work. And same with the soul. If you push your emotions away, push them down, deflect them, deny them, mash them down, it's only going to come back later. So I know it's one of these conversations where you might know someone that really is how I've described in this podcast. Because I know it's hard to talk about this, but it's going to be harder if we don't. So get with someone if they're truly not able to really have that feedback loop, then you can't get it through to them. They're not really committed to life. They're not committed to growth. And you must get away from these individuals by whatever means necessary. Obviously, if it's with a narcissist and it's a relationship with a narc, it wasn't a normal relationship and it will not be a normal breakup. They will try and control the breakup. 9 times out of 10, you're going to have to probably plan an exit strategy well in advance to be able to get away from them. And then they'll just try and hurt you and destroy you, which will also only prove why you tried to get away from them anyway. But I just wanted to make this video because, and I know I cover a lot of stuff, but we're all connected. And it just seems that people just aren't aware of this. And even making a podcast like this on this topic is insane. But this seems to be the way it's going now. You know, it's so crazy to even think like making a podcast saying, hey, have you thought about how you impact other people? Have you thought about maybe, trying to connect to other people? Like, because it seems this broken, fractured way of being is now kind of coming in as the norm. And it doesn't do us any favors at all. So be open to feedback, be open to critique. And also, for the record, this doesn't mean, I'm not saying just go accept feedback from anyone. Because a lot of people that you have around you in your own family, in your own friend group, a lot of them are false friends. A lot of them really don't want the best for you. So they'll mislead you and they will generally not support you truly and kind of want to see you fail. I've noticed that a lot. When you have a really big dream and you're going after something and you're doing it, you probably won't get a lot of support from people they'll probably sit back and admire you and watch you, as I get a lot with being an artist. And I understand that a lot of people out there listen to me, but they don't ever want to come forth because it could, they don't want to feel exposed. But I know you're there and I know that you're listening to me. So yeah, it's just so important that we have people that we can trust, that can give us honest feedback, that is the truth. And that way we can really grow. Because that same with shadow work, as I've mentioned before in previous videos, I don't believe a person can do shadow work on their own. You need to have a sounding board in the feedback loop where someone can sit with you and give you that feedback from a place of love and a place of truth, not from a place of trying to put you down or subconsciously headfuck you. It's got to come from love and it's got to come from truth. And that's how we do the shadow work, because we can't see ourselves outside of ourselves. Okay, we're only getting the perspective of us inward looking outward. But sometimes when we need to get that outward looking inward, then the loop can be fulfilled. And that's where the growth is. So sit down with your partner and be in a relationship with someone, or try to aspire to a level of honesty where you can both sit and say, hey, and have those conversations in a relationship. Because if you don't have those conversations, it is going to come back worse. So avoidance is not a strategy for a successful relationship. And having a no loop, obviously it's going to have problems. So I know I've covered a lot. There's a lot of food for thought here in this podcast. If you know about what I'm saying, please leave a comment below. Don't be afraid. Have no fear. Okay, I value all perspectives of all different realities, of all different people. Obviously, there is one main objective reality that we're all living in, that we could obviously agree with, which is obviously common sense and the truth. So let's get real. And if someone ever does the line on you, what is reality, what is truth, that's just them gaslighting you to try and shift the narrative off obviously perception or reality, so that they can shift the dynamic into their favor. Because this is the key thing you've got to get your head around. I know I've said a lot here, but this world is not safe. You are not safe. People are in the practice of practicing being safe for each other, possibly yes or no. The concept of positive or negative is only based on the perception of the person's, of what is in their best interests. So what I'm saying is other people, if in relation and context to the feedback loop podcast that I'm doing now, is that if their perception of what is good for them is going to put you at a disadvantage, so their best interests are not taking in your best interests as a part of their best interests, then you're in trouble. And you need to see that. You need to know that. Okay? So everyone has best interests. When someone says something like, I don't like the vibes, what that really is saying is the energy or the people around me aren't agreeing with me. They're not validating me or celebrating me. That's what that really means. Because the concept of positive or negative is based purely on perception. So what is normal to the spider is chaos to the fly caught in the spider's web. Do you understand? Okay, I'll leave it here. I know I've dropped a lot of bombs. Lots of love, and I will see you in the next podcast. It's so fucking crucial to have a feedback loop. Get people around you that can help you do this, because then you can, because as soon as I'd rather you just get this, because as soon as you do, now you can start to actually grow, because we are all fractals of each other, mirroring back to each other. And once we get that concept, now we can really grow. Okay, lots of love. I probably need to go back and re-listen to this video again, even though I've made it myself. I just hope that I've got all this in here. Okay, bye.